Okay, so from here now, I would like to begin just the very beginning of looking into Genjo Koan. And for this, I am, again, really deeply indebted to Shohaku Okamura's book here, Realizing Genjo Koan. Very, very important. And what we're going to do literally today is look at the title, the title of Genjo Koan, what it actually means. What do the words Genjo Koan mean? So let's take a look at this. So Shohaku Okamura believes that Genjo Koan, if you can understand Genjo Koan, it's kind of a foundation for the rest of Dogen's Shobogenzo. It's a foundational fascicle. So let's take a look at the title itself. Genjo Koan. These are 4 different Chinese characters, and we can say this becomes one word, although there are 2 different characters, and this koan is also one word. But if we break down the different words and take a look at them, we can get some more glimpses of what it's referring to. So this character here, this is gen. And one definition of this one is to appear, to manifest. Because I'm just throwing out some possibles. To show up. You know, my teacher would say that 99% of our success is simply showing up. Right? If you got to the Zendo, you're done. You're practically done. You know, that's 99% of it. If you got here, you're done. 99% of the success is just simply showing up, right? I like to think of this. So if we further break down this particular Chinese character, we get it can be subdivided again into 2 parts or 2 halves. This character on the left is for king or ruler or emperor, and this part on the right means to see. Right? So we're talking here about this kind of showing up is a noble kind of showing up. We sit like a noble person when we sit. We sit like a king. We sit like a king. Our zafus are considered our throne. Those are the words that are used in Soto Zen to describe what we're doing. We are the Buddha's sight is kingly sight. Right? This is Gen. To see like a king, kingly sight. So it nobilizes what our practice is about. Right? It's something worth revering. Another possible definition here is Gen is transition from what's possible to what is real. So going to the potential to the manifest. It's the difference between thinking about doing something, I'm thinking about going to the Zen Center, and going to the Zen Center. Those are 2 different things, right? So I'm going to the Zen Center. I'm not thinking about it, I'm going. Right? It's the difference between thinking about doing Zazen and doing Zazen. thinking about it versus I'm doing it. That's what this again is. Okay? Okay, let's look at the next one. Joe. I love this one. Joe. To become. Or to complete. To complete. The Chinese character here. Now, I heard this word said in a very strong way when I was training in Japan. Naosu. This here is a spear. This little thing with the hook here. Right? This is to complete, to accomplish. Could be another possibility here, to accomplish. This here is this part of the character. Again, we can subdivide it into two pieces or two parts, the left and the right. Strength, this here. This has to do with strength. And this here is a spear or a lance. So you get the sense of this character as, what is the feeling when you set out to do something and then you do it, you accomplish it, you complete it? Whether it's if it's a small task, say you wanted to get your bachelor's degree, you set out to do it and then you accomplish it, right? And you work hard for that degree. There's a feeling there's a deep feeling there that's associated with that. That's this, to complete. And what is the feeling like when we set out to do something but then flounder, right? When we're floundering around about, right? You talk about like a flounder, like a fish. Just, am I going this way? Am I going that way? Which way am I going? I don't know. This has nothing to do with floundering. It's completing. It's seeing through completely. That's Genjo, is to see something through completely. Right? That might be one possibility. But I want to give that. So the definition here for Genjo, when we put these two Chinese characters together, we get reality as it is one definition. Reality as it is could be one possibility. To appear and become is another. Appear or become. To actualize, right, is another strong word here. To actualize. Okay. All right, so that's Genjo. These are some possibilities. Now, koan is another word we can look more closely at. Koan in Zen is usually referring to something very specific. Oftentimes there's a story of enlightenment between a teacher and a student, where the student wakes up to some aspect of reality. So let's take a closer look at these two koans, or these two Chinese characters. Oops. So apparently there are actually two ways to write this. There's two separate Chinese characters for koan. One way to write it is like this. So this is ko, and then the an part. There's two ways to write this an. So this is the more popular way of writing koan in Chinese, and it's often used in the, referred to it in this way in the Rinzai school. But according to Shohaku Okumura, there is another way of writing this on a slightly different character for it, and they both are pronounced the same, on. The other character looks like this. It's very similar. You see the similarity? Mm-hmm. All right. And apparently Dogen actually uses this particular one primarily in his initial writing of the Shobo Genzo, this particular one. If we look at this, on can take on a couple of different meanings, but generally speaking, it means truth. Koan is truth or a question or question. Right? Could be truth or question. Bless you. This particular piece of it, this ko means to make public. Right? To be or to be public. And it's referring to initially the koan was if there was a dispute in ancient China, there would be a public case opened where a magistrate would look at the case and have to decide who is right. So it was a case that there was some kind of argument between two parties, and then some kind of a magistrate would have to open this case up, make it public. When you make it public, what does it do? It equalizes inequality. Right? That's the sense of it. It's equalizing an inequality. And in a sense, we can also take this to our practice. Our practice is done publicly. Practice is done with all sentient beings. It's not a practice done by ourselves. And Shohaku says that in the Buddhist sense, that the ko also, he says, it means to equalize inequality. So from a Buddhist perspective, that's what this is talking about. To make something public is to make it equal, to equalize it. What's being equalized? The world of disorder and disorganization. So if there's an argument between two parties, all right, let's make this public, and then we can suss out what is right and what is wrong and make a fair determination. Okay. Right. Dogen, one way Dogen thinks about this, and he says, or at least we can translate this into Dogen language, is he says, make no distinction between the dull and the sharp-witted. You know that that saying of his, make no distinction between the dull and the sharp-witted. When it comes to Zazen, it doesn't matter how smart you are. And this is one of the reasons why he was super critical of studying the ancient poems and ancient writings. That's not going to necessarily help. And being dull-witted isn't necessarily a hindrance to enlightenment either. You don't have to be super smart, and being dull-witted is not going to prevent that.
Some teachers have claimed that it's better to be dull-witted.
Oh, really? It's better to be dull-witted?
Yeah.
My teacher was fond of saying, you can't be too smart and you can't be too stupid. You can't be too smart nor too stupid. The second koan, the one that Dogen uses, has to do with to push. And it's referring to, for example, like a hand. In fact, the piece on the left here is a hand. And as if to massage something. An investigation in order to fix something. And for Dogen, it could also mean to keep one's lot, to know one's place, to know your place, to know. This is a very important concept in Asian culture, and that is that we are born with a particular duty. We're born with a particular duty. That is both from the absolute dimension, that is beyond human understanding, as well as from the relative dimension, your particular duty in life, your particular job. We're born with that. And so in Japanese culture in that day, everyone had and as is the case in many cultures, everyone had a specific duty to do that they had to do. And if they didn't do it, there'd be hell to pay. Right? So you were born to do a particular thing. So the ko is this public, or another way to talk about it is universal. And the an is the particular. One is the absolute dimension, the other is the relative dimension. So a koan is the intersection of these two dimensions of reality. Right? The intersection of two, the absolute dimension, which is beyond human comprehension, and the relative dimension of the concreteness of what we're doing in everyday life. These two dimensions are intersecting. That's what koan is. The koan is the intersection. It's where these two things intersect. We get caught up in the relative dimension. We identify with ourselves as a doctor, a lawyer, a priest, a teacher, a mother, a father, a son, a daughter, etc. We identify with our particular roles. But there's also the ultimate dimension involved as well, the absolute dimension that is beyond all of these distinctions. And in reality, we live in both of these dimensions simultaneously. They're both present there. Right? This allows for freedom of movement. This is why Myozen can say, I'm bound to my teacher. That's the relative dimension. I'm bound to my teacher, yet I want to seek the truth. He just entered into a koan right there. That's the koan of his life. I'm bound to a teacher, yet I want to discover that. This is our life as well. We have our obligations, our duties, our responsibilities, yet there's also the truth. Right? And sometimes these two things overlap. The koan is where these things overlap. All right. So if we put the two together, Genjo Koan, we get a couple of different possibilities here. One is an answer to the question from the relative and absolute through. This is such a, let me just say it more plainly. My teacher would say it like this: what is my place right here, right now in the Dharma? What is my place right here, right now in the Dharma? Genjo is about manifesting right here, right now. And then koan is that question: what is it? What is my place right here, right now? Or another way might be, another possibility here might be bringing this moment of activity to a question. Right? Bringing this moment of activity, whatever it is that we're doing in the present moment, and if it's Zazen, we bring Zazen to a question. What is this moment? What is this moment? Or a third possibility would be investigating the present moment. Right? It says, when we study the Chinese characters, you feel it takes on a different nuance, right? There's some depth to, I could have just started out and said, what is Genjo Koan? Investigating the present moment. It wouldn't mean as much without looking more closely at these Chinese characters to get a sense of their depth and the multifaceted nature of this. That when we look at Dogen, we're seeing there's multiple possibilities, especially when we're translating into a foreign language, right? So let's end there. Let's end there for today, and I'd invite any questions, comments, discussion.
Very, the background was really interesting to me. I, in trying to learn more about the history of Buddhism for the intro to Zen, I had read some of the books that we have about the history of Buddhism. And I remember there being something about the Buddhism in Japan sort of descending into, a period where there was all about magical, kind of the way you described.
Superstition. And,
yeah. And then it seemed like that the recovery of it, and which was right around Dogen's time, it seems, maybe a little before, was also associated with a lot of intense interchange between China and Japan. So yeah, I wonder if Dogen just came into that period where there was, more interchange.
It seems like it. I mean, again, that's the historical background of the time in which he's writing. And if you transplant him to another time, would he have been the same? I doubt it. That's not really.
I also wonder if his teacher was a little bit prescient because he might have died before his teacher died.
Dogen might have.
Dogen's teacher might have died before his teacher died, or he.
Oh, he found out about Myozen's death. Dogen found out about his teacher's death, Myozen's death. Is that what you mean? Before he met Tendo Nyojo.
Right, I'm talking about Myozen's decision not to stay with his teacher until he died. I don't know how long he was in China before he died himself.
Right. It was a short time. I understand. Yeah. It was, I think, within a year or two that he was in China.
Feeling, I don't have time.
Yeah. Maybe he was feeling it. Did he die before his teacher? That's a really good question.
Wait, so the guy who accompanied Dogen died in China too?
He died in China. Myozen.
Mentioned that, huh?
Right.
He probably mentioned that, didn't
he? Yeah, it was quick.
Yeah, okay. He died in China.
Before his teacher died.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know when his teacher, Myoju.
How long he lived in China?
Dogen? It's around 5 years, from the age of 23 to 27. Yeah.
We know exactly when he died because it's the code on the garage.
We won't say that.
The 3 times. So like the decaying time. So Dogen came back and he's just like, this isn't the decaying time of the Dharma, this is the
real Dharma.
Is there such thing? Where did that come from, I guess?
Where did it come from?
That's what I'm wondering, who
These
said
3
that,
periods of time in the Dharma.
Who said that?
I'll have to investigate that a little bit more, but yeah.
I do remember something about the Buddha saying something about, after women became part of religion, he said, well, this would have lasted about 1,000 years. Now it'll probably last only about 500 years.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's meant to be taken literal.
And you don't know what was inserted too, especially it being an oral tradition. How much of this was inserted later, and what did the Buddha actually say? My sense is that these ideas of the decay of the Dharma were ideas that were passed on and then incorporated into some of the sutras in some ways. I'd have to look it up and see, or, I guess anybody could do it these days. You can go online and find out what it says about these 3 ages of the Dharma. But it's also an idea within Indian cosmology that there's 4 big periods of time. And we're in Kali Yuga, have you heard of Kali Yuga? This time of decay. And they're said to, the universe goes into stages. There's the birth stage of the universe, there's the arising, there's the maintaining, and then there's the decay and the destruction. And so this is similar. These are similar thoughts that had already been around in the Buddhist culture, starting in India, where you have these different cycles of time that go on. In the case of Kali Yuga, in Hinduism, thousands and thousands of years each cycle is. And the Bhagavad Gita is based on those ideas that this is a decaying age, and we need a avatar, someone who comes in the form of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is the form of Vishnu, is a physical form of Vishnu, and he comes in a time to preach the Dharma when there is decay in society, when people aren't following ethics, and they need to hear a voice of reason, that kind of thing. So that idea, I think, has been circulating in Asian thought for some time, and it just appeared in Buddhist thought as well. Mappo, the age of the decline of the Dharma. Okay, all right. Well, we can close it here.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for your time and questions and comments and practice. All right.
Thank you, Daishin.
Yeah, thank you.
So we graduate?